If you haven't marked your songbooks to number 368, will you do so? Hopefully, is that working, Chuck? Got it. There you go. You got me wired up. Boy, that's not good. All right. So this morning, we're grateful for your presence and visitors and those who are with us. We're grateful for you being with us. And some of the things I'm going to talk about, the ones of us who are older have lived through it, the ones who are younger are going to go through it. And if it's a normal course of life and all the things that we have to do, we're going to have to deal with this one way or another. Certainly, in life, those who have a normal life get to raise children. And raising that children is a great and wonderful blessing, but also a gift from God. And when we decide to have children, there's a lot of things that we have to learn so we can go on, so to speak. I've seen some that think they know all the answers on how to raise a child until they become a parent. As new parents, there's a large learning curve, if you would. All the things that they think they knew goes out the window when they have their own children. If there is more than one child, we soon learn that all children are different. And as I said, being a parent is a gift from God. Children are not a burden, they are a blessing. And I don't know about you, sidebar, I'm getting tired of hearing it on the news, that a child is just a mass. There's no life in them until they're born. Oh, how sad that is, isn't it? When we really think about it and all the things that go on in this world. We're going to talk about raising children. That's the name of this lesson, raising children. Certainly they start out as infants and they need love. And it's pretty easy when they're little. You can take them up in your hands, you can hold them. Wonder what they're going to be as they grow up. A good example of that is in Exodus, the 2nd chapter, and verse 1. It says, "Now a man from the house of Levi went and married a daughter of Levi, Amram. Amram married Jochebed." Household names, right? "The woman conceived and bore a son, and when she saw that he was beautiful, she hid him for 3 months. But when she could no longer hide him, she got him in a wicker basket and covered it with tar and pitch, and she put the child into it and set it among the reeds by the bank of the Nile. His sister stood at a distance to find out what would happen to it." Certainly having the children are a blessing. Amram and Jochebed saw that. The king of Egypt, Pharaoh, had made a decree that all the male children would be killed. Jochebed and Amram decided not to do that, and they defied the order. And we know that Moses came out of this, but the importance of the infants and what she saw in him. I'm sorry to say, but today we see so many people that look at children as if they're a burden. And I don't know why. But they do. Rocking them and consoling them when they're crying and they need to go to sleep. And we forget sometimes the one that rocks the cradle is one that rules the world. They are a blessing. James 1:27-3 says, Behold, children are a gift of the Lord. The fruit of the womb is a reward. Like arrows in the hand of a warrior, so are the children of one's youth. How blessed is the man whose quiver is full of them. They will not be ashamed when they speak with their enemies in the gate. They are a blessing, and we have lost that in our society at times. We're too worried about doing what the society norm is. And we get caught up in that trap. And having an infant causes us to have to do a lot of work. Things change when we have an infant, and they change drastically sometimes. The feeding, the diaper changing, and all the things that goes along with it, staying up late at night or early in the morning with them, is seemingly a never-ending job. I heard a story of a mother that had a son. And they were traveling. And her son had a major blowout. We all know what that is, right? Major. So the mother, in her panic, took the son in the restroom, and guess what? No changing table. So she got the bright idea, which was a good idea, to fold the seat down on the commode and change the child. There was nothing left. And lo and behold, changing the diaper with the mess everywhere, her son peed all over. So you see, that's the way things are in life. And we need to understand that. So when you have a son and he pees all over you, you know that's part of the job, right? So, true story, by the way. The bathing sometimes, several times a day. And that even goes on to the toddlers, which we'll talk about next, and on it goes, right? Something happens, you got to give them a bath. Something happens, you got to give them a bath. Being up all night with a sick child. The baby has been crying, and you walk in the room and pick up the little one from the crib and console them, and they throw up all over you. True. High fevers, croup, colic, measles, mumps, and everything else that goes along with being a parent. And thinking about all those things that you have to deal with raising a child. Training. They start learning at a very young age. And those who just had little children can attest to that. And on it goes, right? Just the little things to start with. The smiles, the laughs, the rolling over, the reaching for things, picking up things, and the cute little things that they do, and we all know. And we need to take time to encourage them to grow and improve. And the first one is the easiest. If you have two or more, your time is divided, and it becomes more difficult. And we need to be good managers of our time when you have children, plural. And that makes it even more hectic and chaotic, and all the things that goes on with that. They will learn quickly. They learn to crawl. They learn to walk. They learn to run. And they learn to get into everything. So we have cabinet locks. We have all the other things to try to keep them out of that. We try to teach them that. Proverbs 1:8. Proverbs 1:8 says, "Hear, my son, your father's instruction, and do not forsake your mother's teaching. Indeed, they are a graceful wreath to your head and ornaments about your neck." And no, we talked about all children are not the same. And some are more difficult than others, right? I hear Marshall right now. And on it goes, right? So you mothers dealing with all that, you have my sympathy. I've been through it. But it is a blessing to be able to have that. Patience, it will take time. They will be making messes that you have to clean up over and over and over again. Playing with toys that you step on in the middle of the night and think you're going to die. And all the other things that goes with raising children. Oh yes, and the temper tantrums. Right, Marshall? You're about ready to kick into one there. So, he doesn't understand that now, but his mother does. So, and as they walk out with those children and they have to deal with that, praise Him. Because it is a difficult task. And then we go from infants to toddlers. And Marshall and some of the others are trying to make that transition from an infant to a toddler, and things are changing quickly. And they're getting into more stuff all the time. They're ornery and they're more loving and they're cute. And we like to watch them and we like to see all the things they do. And we get our cameras out on our phones and we take pictures and we try to save them forever. And if you're like my wife, you print off 5 copies and write on the back of all of them. So, or more. Bless her heart. All right, love is very important at this stage also. You know, love is always very important when you have children, even when they drive you nuts. Even when they're screaming and about ready to throw a temper tantrum and you have to walk out of here with them, they're a blessing. And they need to see love and see it in their parents. If you're always screaming and fighting with your the other one, do you think it affects your children? I guarantee you it does. Sometimes we just need to walk out of the room and not fight in front of our children. And we need to teach them to love others. And that's harder for some than it is others, because we're all different. If we were all the same, it would certainly be a boring world. Some will be more of a challenge than others. And then at the toddler stage, you get into the changing the diapers, a job you think will never end, and then it does. It soon is over. And then the work is involved, all the potty training and all the things that goes along with that. The training pants, the sleepless nights when they're sick, teaching and encouraging, and patience. Boy, it takes a lot sometimes. That's the reason why Patience got the name she's got. Not because of her. As you see these little toddlers running around, they're developing a personality. And you as parents have the opportunity and the privilege to help them develop the proper type of a personality. That's your job as parents. And when they're stubborn and bullheaded and throw temper tantrums, I've never done that, but I did. But anyway, as a little child. And on it goes, because they can hear it from my parents and my siblings, which are older than me, all of my faults when I was young, so that's all right. And on it goes, developing this personality. And you want them to be a good citizen. You want them to be a good person. You want them to be good in society. If you fail as a parent, not only do you have to deal with that, but society has to deal with that. And yes, even in the Lord's church. And some days it'll take all that we have to get through that day, because every child's different. We're going to be throwing temper tantrums. We're going to be testing you to the very end as a child, because we can see what pushes your buttons, those little kids, and as soon as they see that they're getting away with it and they've got your button pushed, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to come back. So you as a parent and I as a grandparent need to head those things off as much as possible. And all children are different, but in the end, we both will be better for it. The child and the parent, if we do our job correctly. And sometimes we fail. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Now, discipline, boy, that's a dirty word. I know that. I was talking to my brothers and sisters about going to school back when we went to school, and they certainly weren't afraid of discipline back then. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. Correction is important at this age. If you don't want your child to grow up to be a heathen, you need to intervene, so everybody else doesn't have to deal with them. And understand that. As a parent, you have to do that. That's one of them jobs that's not easy, because we love our children. And we want them to love us. And they're developing this personality that kind of goes in a different direction. We as parents have trouble with that. And we struggle with that. Proverbs 22 and 6 says, Proverbs 22 and verse 6 says, train up a child in the way that he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. You only have a small window of time to mold and make them the person they are. I hope you realize that. Because when you look back, you see how short that period of time was. In Deuteronomy, the 8th chapter and verse 5, Deuteronomy, the 8th chapter and verse 5, says, thus you are to know in your heart that the Lord your God was disciplining you just as a man disciplines his son or daughter. That is not a joyous job. Never has been. But if you don't correct your children, who will? Have you ever heard somebody say, I can't tell my children no? And I'm afraid there's more of that in this society than we know about. Deuteronomy 11, chapter and verse 18. Deuteronomy 11, chapter and verse 18. You shall therefore impress these words of mine on your heart and on your soul, and you shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets on your forehead. You shall teach them to your sons, talking of them when you sit down in your house, and when you walk along the road, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. You shall write them on the doorpost of your house and on your gates, so that your days and the days of your son may be long. May be multiplied on the land which the Lord swore to your fathers to give them, as long as the heavens remain above the earth. The choice is yours. Discipline them, correct them, say, hey, we can't do this, explain to them why you can't do it, and go on from there. Not all the children like to do that. Nope, they don't. They don't like it at all. And that's a difficult job sometimes. Remember I said they learn how to push your buttons. You know, I've had a good bit of experience having kids, grandkids, great-grandkids. I see the button pushing, okay? Been there and had to deal with it. And a good example of this is a story I read of a parent sitting in a seat, just like Marshall and Patience, and she had to take him out to listen to the sermon as their little boy continues to act up and cause disturbances until the father no longer can take it and grabs him up and heads for the foyer door. As the father reaches for the foyer door, the little boy shouts out, pray for me, pray for me. Because he knew he was in trouble. He had pushed Dad's buttons. You think they don't know that? They do. And the more we let them get away with it, the more they're going to push. And the older they get, the buttons are going to get bigger. If you let them get away with it, the misery will be yours and society's. Some time ago, I knew parents that stated that they could not wait until their child went to school so that teachers could teach them how to behave. Too late. It is so sad that in many cases, it is the mother that brings children, and the father is nowhere to be found. In Ephesians 6 and 4, it says, fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. Who was that command given to? Wow. Fathers. How good a job are we doing at that? Probably not too good, right? I remember many years ago, a woman who brought her children over and over again. And just like some of your children, they were unruly, caused disturbance, so I had to take them out over and over again. And her husband never darkened his doorstep one time as those children grew. Even though she asked him to come out over and over. It is no wonder she left her husband for another man and never darkened the doors again. Men, we have a responsibility. And yes, fathers, you need to be there for your wife and your children. So you're not one of these sad stories. And understanding that. So understand that as we go through this. And then after the toddlers comes the teenagers. And I pick on my grandkids all the time when they became teenagers. And all the things they're going through, and they got a million things going through their head just like we did when we were teenagers. And again, they need love. Boy, it's hard sometimes. They're going through a lot of changes in their life and in their body and all the other things that happens when you become a teenager. As Ian read, I appreciate him reading that from Ecclesiastes, the 2nd chapter, and 1 through 11. And all the things that Solomon had done. And then in verse 11 he says, "Thus I considered all my activities which my hands had done, and the labor which I exerted. And behold, all was vanity and striving after the wind. And there was no profit under the sun." As I've told some of you, live on a little less and spend more time with your family. It is important. For you see, when they're young, we need to teach them, as Ecclesiastes 12 and 1 said, to remember also your Creator in the days of your youth. Behold, evil days come, and years draw near, when you will say, I have no delight in them. You're only young for a short window of time. And even though parents don't see that, you only have those children for a short period of time. And what kind of example are you going to give them? And what are they going to see in your life, because they see right through us? Teenagers also need understanding when they succeed and when they fail or fall short and when they make mistakes. And again, especially teenagers, they need to see that their parents love each other. And you can say whatever you want about that. If you're not listening to me at all, that's fine. But if you fight with your children and argue and go on in front of them over and over again, you will ruin them. I guarantee you. And they also need to see the parents demonstrating that love and understanding what it means. Sadly, many homes are broken, and they do not see love the way that they should. And our society is full of them right now, right? Broken homes where one parent is raising them and have to deal with all of it. And they can see right through when we fail as parents. And sometimes they bring it up, right? Smack us right in the face with it. But remember, when we fail, and we've done it for whatever, maybe years, we can't roll the clock back and change those things. We can't change our mistakes, but we can say we're sorry. Forgive me. Because I wasn't the parent I should have been. And that's all you can do. As teenagers, they need encouragement. Life can be tough. Life can be tough. It's not fair. As we talked in Bible class, it is not fair. Sometimes it can just be tough. And as our teenagers see how we deal with those tough situations in life, it will make them a better person. And when they see a tough situation in life, they'll see how you handled it and mimic what you're doing. And do you want them to do that? In Jeremiah 10 and 23, it says, I know, O Lord, that a man's way is not in himself, nor is a man who walks to direct his steps. It's not possible for us to do that. We need to let the Lord do the leading. Sadly to say, I've seen a lot of people get messed up in life and not be able to get straightened out. One guy I worked with, his father died an alcoholic, he died an alcoholic, and his brother died an alcoholic, even though you try to talk to him. And his life was a mess. He's one of them parents that failed, right? Because there's something in his life that was not right. In Proverbs 14 and 12, it says, there is a way which seems right to a man, but its end is the way of death. So we need to make sure our children understand that. The choices you make will make you succeed or fail. And what do they see in us when we fail? And how we're going to handle the situation. School can be tough. All right? Yeah, it was tough when I went to school. It's tough now. And it can be very tough. Teenagers, relationships can be tough. Dating, choosing someone to marry, and sticking it out when things are tough. And we have to teach our children that, so that when they get in those tough spots, they will understand that. And of all things for teenagers, it takes patience. We were all teenagers at one time that are older. We had our successes, we had our failures, and we had the shoulder to lean on. If we had a normal family, if we didn't, we had to try to figure it out on our own. And yes, we were disappointed by our parents, and we disappointed our parents. And how did we feel when we were teenagers? The same as today. If you want answers to the problems that you're having with your teenager, maybe a little different than yours, but it will be close to the same. You can pick up God's words and you can read it and find the answers you need. But what were the struggles that you and I had? Why did we struggle with the things that we had in our life? And to convey that to our children, to say, hey, you might want to watch out for this pothole in the road because it's pretty deep. And it's going to cause a lot of damage if you fall into it. And we were not faultless. We had our faults. We had our missing the mark. And what did we do to get through that situation or those situations in our life when we were teenagers, as difficult as it was? And certainly discipline is one of those things that needs to be there. They need to know there are limits. If you don't, when they get out in society, they're going to struggle greatly. Because if you go to get a job, you go to do anything else, there are going to be limits that people are going to set on. If you don't, you won't have that job. And all the things that goes with that. In Psalms 34:11, it says, Psalms 34:11, "Come, you children, listen to me, and I will teach you the fear of the Lord." That's what we got to teach our children, to fear the Lord. Yeah, there's a lot of things out there we can get into, a lot of things we can have fun at, and a lot of things we can get into, but the consequences are not worth it. Do we explain that to our children? If they go beyond those limits, that there will be consequences. You're the parent. You have to set those. Understanding the limits and how they live in their lives will be the utmost importance as an adult and in society. If we fail here, society and you will suffer for it. And most of all, I think they need a listening ear. Keep the lines of communication open. If they want to talk to you, make the time for them. Did you hear that, dads? If they want to talk, you make time for them. Forget about the overtime. Forget about whatever else you're doing. Forget about all that money you're making, because that's the biggest thing you're going to have to do right there. If you fail at that, the rest of it will be heartbreaking down the road. And have an understanding heart. You remember I said I got to put myself in their situation? I was a teenager. I had successes. I had failures. And I disappointed my parents. Boy, when they disappoint me, how am I going to handle that? And yes, as adults, they still need love. They're your children. And they'll need our love as long as we live. They'll need understanding. And they'll need tough love when it's needed. And boy, that's hard, isn't it? You remember I said the parents that can't tell their children no? Well, there you go, right? Encouragement. Relationships can be difficult. Jobs can be hard. Children can be difficult. Don't be afraid to say, I made mistakes too. And also, a listening ear. Be there when you're needed. At times, they just need a sounding board. They're having a tough time. A shoulder to cry on, and how to overcome a situation that they have not been through before. Have an understanding heart. Life can be tough. Relationships can be difficult. And they need to know that you care. In conclusion, as an adult, I can look back through my memory and see all the mistakes that my parents made when I was growing up. It's pretty easy for me to see their mistakes, right? There were so many things that they could have done better, but not understanding what they were going through to raise me as a perfect child that I was. As a parent, I can look back through my memory and see all the mistakes that I have made as a parent when my children were growing up. Things could have been better for them if I would have been the perfect parent. I didn't have to go through all the things I was going through. And they're all different. As a grandparent, I can see all the mistakes that my children are making with their children. Aha, so you didn't think I was watching, did you? As they were growing up. So many things could be better for my grandchildren if they would be the perfect parent and did not have all the things that they were going through. As a great-grandparent, I can see all the mistakes of my grandchildren that are making with their children as they grow up. So many things could be better for my great-grandchildren if my grandchildren didn't have to go through all the things that they have to go through. See, we all could have been better parents if we would have taken the time to do a better job of dealing with the things that we had to go through. As children, we do and did not understand what our parents were going through until we have to be a parent and deal with the things that we're going through. The lesson is yours. Where are you at with raising your children? Have you made mistakes? Have you apologized to your children? I heard one man say one time, near to me here, I never heard my father say, "I'm sorry." So if you're with us and you're one of those parents that your life's a mess, and you're not doing things the way that you should and how you could, know assuredly you have opportunity to correct that situation right now and move on from here. For you see, you have the opportunity to have the perfect children that your parents tried to have. Right? No. You're going to have challenges. You're going to have obstacles. You're going to have all those things. But to say, "I'm sorry, forgive me," and move on. As Gideon was taught by his father to tell me to man up. And sometimes we need to, fathers. Seriously, in all seriousness. We can't lay it all on the women. So if you're with us and you're not a Christian, we're affording you that opportunity now to become a Christian. With all your imperfections and all the things that you've messed up, you have an opportunity to wipe those away and to tell your children that you love them and you're sorry and I wish it was different, but I can't change it. Right? And as we're dealing with all those things, know that you love your children and you want the best for them, but teach them the right way. If you're not a Christian, we afford you the opportunity to hear, believe, repent, confess, and be baptized into Christ for the remission of your sins, and to rise out of that to walk in newness of life and be faithful unto your death. And if you're here and you're just a mess and you need prayers, please come forward and we'll pray for you. We'll help you in any way we possibly can if you're struggling with something, so that maybe we all can get to heaven. For us, think about these things as we stand and sing Rock of Ages.